So the plan is like every day, whatever I discuss, I'll try to create an interview preparation questions as well. I'll share you that link. You can prepare and answer to those the questions. Okay, that is the plan. So if you answer those questions, prepare well, so you can easily crack interviews. Okay, so it is not a big deal to crack an interviews as well. So what we are going to discuss is, let us say any cloud or DevOps engineer need to understand one operating system. Okay, that could be a Linux, ideally Linux or Windows, any one operating system. Ideally, generally preferable is Linux operating system. If you are good with Linux, most of the activities, okay, you can easily perform in your day-to-day activities. Okay, so as part of that, okay, we'll try to we'll compare our regular activities in Windows with Linux, and we'll try to understand that. Okay, so in Windows, right? So when you are working with a Windows, what are the things you have is here. If you look at, you have a drives, right? So if you go to your PC, like you have a C drive, D drive, kind of on a different drives you have, and then okay, you can try to store whatever the content you want, and you can work with that. Generally, what happens, like if you want to install any particular applications, okay, that generally stores in your C program files, right? If you created a user, the user information, like in the users, okay, the user information will be stored over here, right? We call it as his home directory, the user home directory. All the users information is kept in this user section, right? In the same way, so we have on a certain location where you have all the downloads, right? We have certain location, we have a log files. Okay, in a way that is all organized, right? In the same way, Linux operating system also, instead of drive here, we call it as a file system. Okay, in the Linux, what we call it as file system. In this Linux operating system, these file systems are like segregated according to the different requirements. Okay, so like we have a slash, we call it as a root. Okay, basically it is a root to the entire operating system actually. Okay, so all the we call it as a file systems or mount points. Call it the mount points. All the mount points, the parent for all the mount points is slash. Okay, so we discussed like all the configuration files, all the installation paths, where it is kept in Windows is program files, right? In same way, in a Linux point of view, the directory structure level, there is one directory called etc. In the etc, all the configuration files, like if you install some application, the application related configuration files are kept in a directory called etc. Now tell me, if now you look at here, if someone says etc means what? Where exactly the etc is located? In slash, right? It is located in slash. Parent is a slash. In that, okay, we have a directory called etc. Like if you look at C drive, in that you have a program files, right? Same way. In a Windows, if you look at, there is a users folder, right? In that users, you have a different users to create, right? In the same way, in a Linux, we call it as a home. In the home, you create different users. Okay, we call it as a slash home. Let us say I want to create a user called DevOps. So where the DevOps related home directory is kept is slash home slash DevOps. This is DevOps, suppose a user one. So when a user created called user one, okay, there is a one folder. Okay, in Linux, we call it a directory, right? The directory is created in the slash home directory. That is his home directory. So if I log into the system, he'll be logged into this particular folder. He can do anything here. He can create files, he can create directories, he can delete whatever you want to do. You can do in this particular folder structure only. Okay, in this particular folder structure, you can do anything. That is your own home directory. You cannot go some others users and you cannot do that. Let us say you are a user one. You cannot go into slash home slash user 2. There you cannot do any activities like deleting, creating files and all. You cannot do that. Okay. But there is one user called root user. Root user can do anything. Okay. That is a different case. Root is in a Windows, we call it the administrator, right? In Windows, we call it the administrator. Here, we call it the root user. A root user can do anything. Okay, he can do any activity in any location. That is different case. But a regular user, like user 1 or user 2, any user, he can perform any activity in his own home directory. Okay, in his home directory, he can do anything. If he cannot do any other activities in others' home directory. Okay, now we know what is etc, what is a home, right? So we also have certain directories like, okay, var. In Windows, like if you do any activity, there would be some log, right? If something went wrong, where you look at in Windows, there is a event viewer, right? In Windows, if you want to troubleshoot anything, what went wrong, what happened, okay? Those are all the things you can look at in event viewer. See, custom views, Windows logs, application related logs, security related logs, anything if you want to look at and you want to understand what went wrong, what has happened, you want to troubleshoot that, we can see event viewer. In the event viewer, we can see all the logs here. Let us say if there is any security related info. Okay, so some are information, some are errors, you can see different things here. Okay, in the same way, in the Linux operating system, anything related to logs, it could be application logs. So what are the different logs we have seen here? So if you look at here in a Windows, we have on a different logs like application logs, security logs, okay, setup logs, system logs, and OS logs and all. In the same way, in a Linux also we have different types of logs, OS logs, application logs, security related logs, different things. But suppose someone logged into my machine and someone deleted some important data, right? Someone logged into my machine and deleted some important data. We want to know, right? Who logged in, why he logged in, when he logged in, what he has deleted. Okay, certain things we want to look at. We want to audit something. Then these logs will be helpful. So all the logs are kept in var folder, var directory. Okay, in the var directory, we have all the logs like variable files people call it as, or else log files like it could be OS logs, application logs, security logs, anything which are kept in var folder. Okay, and also we have certain directories like tmp. It is some special temporary folder, temporary directory. It is all the temp files are located. Okay, so suppose any temporary files are generated, those files are stored in the tmp folder. Like if you reboot your machine, okay, all the files in that particular folder may be deleted. Okay, so any important files we don't store in that. Okay, we also have like, okay, etc for what is the purpose of etc? etc for all the configuration files, home directory, basically all the user home directories, and we also have a var directory. Var is basically to store all the log files, and we also have a usr directory. Okay, /usr. usr is for like all user applications, like all the utilities or user, okay, applications are stored here, right? In the USR, we have a different structure. We'll try to look at them. Okay, there is a one bin and sbin. These two directories are there. In the USR again, okay, if you consider that, how it would be /usr /bin /usr/sbin. These two directories, if you observe, see, I told you, right? There is a regular user is there, a root user is there. What is the difference between them? There are two types of users, right? Regular users and root users. What is the difference between them? Okay, so let us say user 1 is a regular user. Root user is there. So what is the difference? Root user can do anything, right? He is an administrator. User 1 is a regular user. He cannot do all the activities. Only certain activities he can do, right? Only certain commands a user 1 can run as a regular user. Whereas a root user can do any activity. But how that is making difference is user can execute the commands which are located in USR bin. Okay, in this particular folder, there are certain commands that a regular user can execute the commands. So what we can say here is, okay, in the bin folder, USR bin folder, there are certain commands, that's user commands. Okay, a regular user commands are kept it here. Anyone can run that. What is command? Like instruction kind of. In a Windows, also you have a PowerShell CMD, right? In a Linux, we run all the commands. The commands, all the regular user commands are kept in this particular folder called USR bin. Whereas sbin, all the administrator related commands are kept. Okay, admin commands. So a regular user cannot run those. As a root user only, you can run those. Like let us say you want to shut down the machine. You want to power off, like you want to delete some software, you want to install some software, or else you want to add another user, you want to delete a user, you want to give some permissions to other user. Such kind of activities can be done by admin user. That commands are kept in sbin. That commands are kept in. How we can do, like generally in a Windows, how can we do that? If I want to do any administrator related commands, if you look at here, like let us say, so if you go with the CMD, let us say I'm trying to run some command prompt commands, what we do is right click, run as an administrator, then you can perform the commands here. Like if you want to power off, you can do that here now. If you have an administrator privileges, as a regular user I joined, okay, if you look at as a regular user I joined, but now I become an administrator for this now. So I'm running this command prompt as an administrator. So I can run any command now on Windows machine. In the same way, you can log in as a regular user called user1, but you can become as a root user. I'll explain you in the next session how can we do that and all. So as of now, you understand there are two directories, USR bin, USR sbin. USR bin, all the regular commands are kept. Sbin level, all admin commands are kept. Okay. So like we also have some proc. There is a directory called proc. Let us understand what is a proc. This proc directory, it will maintain all the processes information, all runtime information it will maintain, all kernel related information it will maintain. Okay, what is kernel? Okay, we'll discuss that. Okay, all runtime information or kernel information, processes information, it will try to maintain. So in a Windows, right, if you want to see any application running, that system information and all, you can do in the, where you can see in the task manager, you can see right here. Suppose if you look at here, Google Chrome, this is on a process. How much CPU using, how much memory using, and all the details you have right here. That particular process, how much consuming that CPU memory. And you can also look at here, what is the performance of usage and all. Apart from all these things, you can see here details. What is the PID, process ID of that particular Chrome using certain process ID. It is running. Okay, certain information it is giving, right? That all such kind of runtime information is kept in proc folder. Okay. If you want to see any CPU information running, utilizing CPU in your machine, right? Now, if you look at in Windows, now tell me if someone asks you, hey, how much CPU using in your machine? You can go and look at your performance and I can say, hey, this much of 27% of 32% of my CPU is consuming now, right? These many processes are running, these many threads are there, right? How long it is running, all those details you can see, right? Same way, if you want to see some CPU information, you can go and in the proc, there is one file called CPU info, mem info, memory information. Those are all you can see. As and when we move forward, you can learn those things. Okay. Okay. Especially when you are troubleshooting, when you look at performance issues, you can see that. Okay. Suppose you want to store some third-party softwares, any third-party softwares you want to store or anything, there is a folder called OPT. Okay, you can copy any third-party softwares in that, like Tomcat, Java applications, any softwares you want to store in that, and you can Oracle databases, anything you can store there, and you can try to run it. Right. So this is the overall, so some useful directory structures I can say. Look, a lot of things are there at this moment. It is good enough for to understand. Okay. So if you want to work with a Linux operating system, generally there is a GUI also there, but no one will use GUI. Most of them are like, they use Linux on command based, right? Everything is command based. You run some commands, and get some responses from the machine. If you look at in Windows, what we have CMD or PowerShell. If you look at PowerShell, when I open a PowerShell in a Windows, yeah, you can manage your Windows operating system with the GUI as well as you can manage with the PowerShell. Suppose let us say I want to see what is my system name, right? Okay, you can say host name, some host name we got, right? So whatever. Okay, if you look at I want to see my date for today's date, right? So you can try to run some commands. Okay, your operating system will respond to that command and it will show that output on your screen. In Windows, we call it we have a different options like PowerShell, command prompts and all. In Linux also, we have a different shells. Okay, basically we have a shell. Different types of shells we'll discuss in the coming classes, but there is a one shell. So what happens when a human, like when we try to run some commands, when you run commands, we submit that command to shell. Shell submit the command to whom? It will submit to a kernel, right? The command, whatever we fire, we try to run the command. So the shell, whatever we are running, the shell is the interpreter, like, okay, intermediate, okay, the command, it will try to execute the command kind of. Interpreter between you and kernel. Kernel is nothing but a collection of programs, I can say. It is an operating system, okay? To run operating system, it is a kernel we call. Kernel is like a collection of all the programs, okay? So whenever we run any commands, we run the commands on shell. Shell submits to the command to the kernel. Kernel response you can see on the screen, right? Whatever the responses you can see, that's okay. You can see on your screen. Clear? So to get the responses from the kernel, we are using shell. What are the different commands are there in the Linux? We look at, okay. Okay, let us say in Linux also we have, okay, as of now, I didn't show you that how the Linux operating system look like and all. So we'll try to look at that. So some of the common commands in PowerShell also will work. Let us say date. So you treat this as in a Linux as of now. So if you run the command called date, what has happened is, so it is connected to that particular kernel and it is responded. Kernel has responded with some output and it is showing on your screen. Okay. So before going to do that, I'll try to give you some input to practice all the sessions, whatever we learn going forward. You can try to create an account in KillerCoda. Okay, it is an open source. You can try to create account in the KillerCoda. So, okay, try to create your account in the KillerCoda and start practicing this. Let us say here you can see, okay, Linux, right? You have different scenarios here. You can try to practice, okay? So they'll give you some scenarios and according to that you can practice and you'll find. So to start with, let us say, okay, they have given some lessons, okay, list files. Okay, you can try to start this particular session and you can practice all your Linux here. Not only Linux, there's a lot of other activities we can do here. So let me try to. So if you look at here, like once you try to log into the KillerCoda, okay, you can try to work. Yeah, it is Ubuntu is another operating system type. Okay, we'll look at that. You can fire all your commands here. Let us say I'm running a command here, date, right? It has responded with the output. Okay. So some of the common basic commands we'll try to learn today. Suppose you want to see all the files which you have, ls. ls is a command to look at all the files in my directory, in my particular directory. So, but which directory? So we learned just now, we have a lot of directories, right? We have a lot of directories just now we understand. But which directory I am in, we can look at pwd. So, okay, present working directory, I'm in a /root. I'm in a /root. Okay. So in that /root, these are all the different files. I will said the parent directory is / right? So we'll look at that. Okay. The ls command will help us to list all the files. If you look at ls / means in the root directory, what we have. / means root. That's what we discussed, right? You look at, we have a bin, dev, lib, opt, var, usr, different directories are there, right? /home, /etc, proc, runtime information like proc and all you have, right? So basically it will list, ls means it will list out all the files and okay, you can try to look at like an clear Basically clear means it will try to clear. Okay. Date, it will try to print. Okay. What is today's date? Okay. So generally what happens if you connect it to any operating system, we want to know which operating system we are working on, right? So before that, if you want to list the files, okay, fine. If you want to open a file, the command is cat. Cat is a command to open the file. Okay. It is opened this big file, right? If you look at here, cat, the file name, it will open the file, but it will go to directly last page. If I want to open a page by page, you want to read page by page, you can use a more command. See, only 1% of file is showing. If you want to see more content, you can see space bar. You can click on space bar, or you can say enter. You can go line by line, you can read it. So how many ways you can open the file is, you can open the cat command, or we can use a more command. The difference between cat and more is cat will directly open the last page of the file. No, I want to read a page by page, you want to go with, okay, you want to understand what is the content in that and all, then you can go with a more command. Okay. Now, in sometimes in interviews, they'll ask you, hey, which operating system you are using? Let us say I said Linux. Okay, Linux is fine. But which version you are using? How you get to know which version you are using? You can simply run a command like cat /etc, you know, right? All the configuration files are kept os-release. You can say simply, okay, cat os-release is a file. It maintains all your operating system details. Okay, it is saying that, hey, you are using Ubuntu. The version is 24.04. You are using LTS version, latest, okay, long-term support version you are using, then all the details are kept here, right? So if you want to know which operating system you are using, what you can say, cat /etc/os-release. It will give you, okay, which operating system you are using. Okay. So we also try to understand, like, okay, what are the, who are all logged in, like, okay, before going to that, we'll try to make it a bit interesting, okay, this discussion. So, you know, right, in any programming language, there is a command called print, right? So what the print does, it will print, I mean, it will try to open a file or print the file, whatever, right? In the Linux, we say echo. Echo will print whatever you say. Echo will print whatever you say. Echo is a command. If you give hi, it will print it hi. If you say bye, it will print bye. Okay. So I want to run a command called host name. What is my system name is Ubuntu. Let us say the system name is server 1, server 2, server 10, or host name is Ubuntu. Okay. So I want to give something like this. Hey, echo, my system name is, okay, what is the command? Host name. Okay, let us say I want to see the date. Hey, echo, today date is date. Is that making sense? No, right? It is not giving the right information. It is printing as it is what we've given. We know that echo will print as it is what we've given, right? If I want to execute echo with any command, you can simply say backtags. Put that command into a backtags below to your escape key, right? So now you see today's date is certain date format it is printed. So echo command, we know that it is going to print whatever the content you give. That is fine. But if you want to execute any command in that, you can use backtags. So let us say here I say host name. So backtags. Now you see, sorry, something went wrong. So let us say echo, my system name is, let us say host name. So what it is saying, hey, my system name is Ubuntu. Okay. So what echo doing? Echo is going to print whatever the input you say. But if you want to execute commands in that, you can use backtags. So generally, if you try to give any input, generally we try to maintain any string, right? You can try to maintain in double quotes. So that, okay. So I'll tell you what is single quotes and double quotes, how it is different to each other. We'll discuss that. Okay. Now you understand, like, okay. So what is the echo command and how we are going to print that. So, you know, right, we have a different directories, right? ls / means it is printing what are the different directories in your system. But where we are now in the root. So where we are in this location we are in. Now I want to go to OPT, suppose. I can say cd OPT. Is that right? No, because I have to say /. So my parent is / for everything, parent is /, right? So I can say cd /. Now where we are in OPT. cd means change directory. If you want to come back of that, you can say cd .. Now where you are in /. If I want to go into any specific directory, I can say cd. Come back means you can say dot. Suppose I want to create a directory, suppose mkdir, you can say directory. Let us say I want to create a directory 1. So if you look at now ls, there is a directory 1. Okay. Is there a directory 1? Where we created? Slash, right? In slash I created, sorry. Okay, I can say ls slash. So you see here, there is a directory 1. Suppose I want to create a directory within the directory, another directory, such kind of hierarchy I want to create. Suppose, let us say mkdir. In that directory 1, I want to create a directory 2. In that, I want to create a directory 3. In that, I want to create a directory 4, such a way. So what it is saying? No, you cannot create that because the previous directory, directory 3 was not found, directory 2 was not found, kind of error we got. To avoid this kind of issues, we can use -p, like you can try to preserve the directory structure and you can try to create it here. You see, now it is created. If you go into that particular directory 1, you see ls, there is a directory 2. You can go into the directory 2, you can go into directory 3, directory 4, like you see, where we are now. If you want to come back, one directory back, two directories back, three directories back. Now where we are now, directory 1. Three directories we back. 4, 3, 2, now I'm in 1. Only one directory back means dot dot. Clear? Such a way you can try to create a directory, you can move into that directory, come out of the directory and all. So if you want to create a file, directory we created fine. If you want to create a file, you can say touch the file name. Let us say file 1. It will create that file, right? So the file 1 we created just now, this one, right? File 1 will be created. So what we'll do, if you look at the file 1, so ls file 1 means it will try to show you that file 1 details, fine. But if you want to see in detailed information of that, you can see lrt. L means long list with the timestamp and all the details. If you want to see when it is created, timestamp means when it is created, the time. Long list means show me all the permissions, okay, all the details. So every file or directory has certain attributes. If you look at this file has some attribute, it has some name, file 1. This file has a owner root. It has some group owner root. When it is created, timestamp, size of that, permissions of that, different attributes are there for that file. That is very useful when you want to search, okay? When you want to give some permissions and all, that is very important, okay? So it is like an initial day, that is fine. So we'll try to connect tomorrow sharp time and we'll try to discuss all the basic Linux commands. I'll finish tomorrow. Then I'll try to take 2 days scripting. Then some advanced topics in Linux like how you manage services, processes, troubleshooting, performance issues and all we'll discuss. Then we'll go into some advanced topics, okay? So yeah, at least we initiated this. We'll try to take it forward, okay?
Yeah, thank you.